So it's that time, right? You go to your parents and you ask that infamous question, where did babies come from? That is not what we're talking about tonight, but I have called our time together The Talk, because this is that moment. Megan and I have invited you guys into our family room, and we're having a family talk right now, where we're sitting down, we're saying, guys, we love you. Like, we look at you as like little brothers and sisters. The sixth graders, you're like our little children. No. But we really do. We love you guys. We care about you guys. And we want to sit down and have this conversation that says, what does God have in store for your future? Because obviously every single person in here, at some point in your life, you're going to have questions about this topic, about what does dating look like? How old should you be when you start dating? What does dating even look like? How do I know if he's the one? How do I know if she's the one? All these questions. So we want to just share a bit of our story. And Megan and I would both tell you guys, this by no means, as we share our story, and please hear my heart in this is not to say, hey, when you start dating one day, this is exactly how you do it. And if you don't do it the same way we did, you're wrong. That is not what we're saying. But we're sharing just our story, how God did a work in our relationship that ultimately led to our marriage that we love. And we just want to share you guys, some stuff we're sharing is from the Bible, and that'll be obvious. Some stuff is opinions. Some is suggestions. Some is wisdom we've gathered along the way. But not all of this is like, here is exactly what this is supposed to look like. And we also have a heart for this, right? Because of being burned ourselves.
I feel like even this topic, for Sean and I at least, we didn't grow up in church talking about this. Like, if you talked about dating, if you even looked at somebody, it was like, you are going to hell. How dare you have feelings or like somebody? And the reality is, like, God created you with those feelings. He created you to be in relationship with other people. It just is at the proper time. And so I honestly think that, like, if you're not talking about it in church, you're talking about it at school, or you're talking about it elsewhere, and why not talk about it in a place where you can be confident that you're getting, like, biblical, solid advice and, like, be hearing what God's design is for it. So, and hearing the why. Like, all we grew up hearing really was like, don't do that. It's bad. No. And we never got the reason why. And when I finally heard the reason why, I was like, why has no one ever shared that? Because if I knew, I would have wanted to do it that way. I would have wanted to do it God's way instead of my own way, because of all the amazing things that were promised if I did relationships and marriage in the way that God designed it. So,
amen. Yeah, so hey, I want to ask this question really quick, and raise your hand, I'll call on you. What's the point of dating? Anyone want to? Yes. So you won't be alone and depressed the rest of your life. Hey, that's a good answer. Yeah. What's that? So we don't go extinct? Okay. Yeah. Be fruitful and multiply. Yeah. I like what she said. It's how you start a marriage. And here's what I want to define. As I talk about the word dating, as we talk about the word dating, and we'll throw this up on the screen, I believe dating is getting to know someone more intentionally to see if marriage is a possibility. You're getting to know someone. You're being intentional about getting to know them. And the end goal, why do we ultimately date? So we don't be like the dinosaurs and get extinct. I like that answer. That was a good one. But ultimately, because we hope it leads to marriage. Yeah. So even as we talk about that tonight, I want you guys to frame your minds about that, around that topic, around that thought. Like this, the end goal of dating is marriage. It's not having fun. It's not just having someone to hang out with. It's not, so I'm not depressed, and we'll talk about that too. But it literally is marriage. Now, does that mean every time you end up dating someone, it should lead to marriage and you failed if it hasn't? No. You might date more than one person in your life and not marry each. Like that would get crazy if you married every person you ever dated. That could be a lot of people. But
hey, guys in the front right here. You want to share with the class? No?
So, with that being said, we want to tell you guys our story, how we met. So in the beginning, well, no, in the beginning of my life, I was born at a very young age. How about you share a little bit of your story first? How did we meet?
I'm not going back that far.
You're not going back that far.
We met here. We met working here in 678.
At this table.
At this table.
Right.
Sitting right here. No.
It's crazy. We were doing a talk on marriage. First time we met.
Yep.
It's
no.
weird.
No, we met here. I came to what's called Ocean's Edge School of Worship, which is here at Calvary. I'm originally from Colorado. Well, I'm originally from California. Moved to Colorado when I started high school, and then I moved to Florida because I found out about the School of Worship, and I wanted to study worship leading. So came here, went to school, got a job here, so I stayed here, and I got a job in 678, and then I came, and Sean was already working here.
Yeah, and it was love at first sight for her. It took some time for me to be interested in her, but she just looked at me and was like, wow, God, what you created is very good. That's how it was, right?
No.
So for me, I mean, I was single. I dated a little bit. I'd gone out on dates with some people, but I'd never actually had a girlfriend. I'd never put a term to a relationship, never defined it, had never told someone I loved, like none of those things. So then, as I'm this single guy, every year there was new students in OE. It was students that were like my age, and I was like, "Ooh, it's a new crop of girls. I wonder if the one is there, eh? Right? You guys know what I'm talking about." So I had an interest in Meghan, and she despised me.
I wouldn't use the word despised.
Hated.
I just
threw up at the thought.
I just didn't look at him as like boyfriend material.
Okay, so
first.
Can I ask you a question though? Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Did you or did you not have a dream we were married before we ever dated?
I did, yeah. But
she didn't like me, but she dreamed about me. I'm
but
literally
I barely knew
the
you.
man
It's just a
of
weird,
her
random
dreams.
dream.
I'm the man of her dreams. So, I mean, after a bit of softening up, I finally just asked her out on a date. I was like, hey, no pressure. Like, I want to get to know you. I like you as a person. You have characteristics that, like, I admire. And I want to go out. Like, so we went somewhere where no one goes, a Florida Panthers hockey game. And had the most depressing date ever, right?
Most depressing conversation of our lives. We talked about all the things that brought us from like childhood to adulthood and what made us like who we are today. And we both have hard childhoods, like hard backgrounds, hard family lives. But it was interesting because I didn't want to go out with him for the longest time because to me, he was just this goofball. Like he didn't have a serious bone in his body. He just always wore graphic tees. Not much has changed. And just was a goof, like he's a goofball up here all the time, right? I mean, this is why he's good at middle school ministry because he's just crazy all the time. And I just thought, oh, that would drive me insane. I could not live with something like that all the time. So all his friends, though, convinced me that this is the one thing they said to me. If you think Sean Fryer is a goofball all the time, you don't know Sean Fryer. And so I said, okay. So when he asked me out, I said, I will go out. And no harm, no foul, one date. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And so when we had this like very depressing conversation about our childhoods, I was like, oh, he does have a serious side. So then I kind of started to like him.
Yeah, and at the end of the night, as we were saying goodbye, she leaned in. No, that didn't happen. No, but as we were saying goodbye, she literally said the two words that I was waiting to hear, next time. I was like, next time. She said next time.
You won me over.
And literally from there, it like, I don't want to say like I knew she was the one, but like I was so confident in it. Like we went out on a few more dates, but it was about a month and a half later. It wasn't super long that I asked her to be my girlfriend. I actually called her dad because I'd never talked to him. He's in Colorado.
Guys, this is take notes.
I actually called her dad before we even had put a title to it. And I said, hey, I've been talking to your daughter, and I just want to introduce myself to you. because you should know the guy that your daughter in Florida is like spending time with. And then when I was getting ready to ask her to be my girlfriend, I called him and I just said, hey, I would really like to actually date your daughter. Like, I'd like her to be my girlfriend, all those things. But why? Like, why did we start dating? Ultimately, it's because we saw a future together. We felt like there could be more. We were in a place where we're both adults, where we both had jobs now at this point, and we felt like there was more. But I want to say this before we get into more of our story and dating. To be single or to be married is a special gifting from God. Now, let me say that again. To be single is a special gifting from God. And to be married is a special gifting from God. And I'd go far as to say this, so far as to say this. The end goal of Christianity is not marriage. Let me repeat that again. The end goal of Christianity is not marriage. Now, why do I say that? Because I feel like the church has done a really bad job of this, and you guys are in middle school, so you haven't faced this pressure, but you will. You're 22. Why aren't you married? You're 23. All the good ones are taken by now. I can't believe you haven't found that. Like, have we not seen these things?
Yes.
Like, I was 26 when we got married. 24, 25 when we started dating. Like, it was crazy how many people thought I was just a lost cause. I'm like, I'm in my mid-20s. But being single, guys, is such a gift. Because here's the reality is marriage won't fulfill all of your relational needs. It just won't. So many people, I know you jokingly said, so you won't be alone and depressed forever. But it's like, if you're depressed when you're single, getting married is not going to solve that. Right?
Yeah, and we've like witnessed that in our own lives with friends and family members. Like, marriage is not going to fix your problems, and the person you are when you get married, like, should still be growing after you're already married. Like, it's not like you grow and become this person and then you get married. Like, the growing still happens. Like, you're still trying to become a better version of yourself. You're still trying to get closer to Jesus. And I think what happens too when like he's getting closer to Jesus and I'm getting closer to Jesus, we're also growing like closer together.
Yeah. You're going to have to skip ahead. We got a picture of a triangle we want to show you guys, which should happen in your relationship. As you and her get closer together, or as you get closer to each other, you should also be growing closer to God. So that's a great visual for us to see. And that's what should be happening. But in the end, marriage won't fulfill all of those needs that you have. If you're not content when you're single, you're not going to be content when you're married. If you're not happy when you're single, you're not going to be happy when you're married. Because there's deeper things to that. And I want to say this too, guys. I know you're young, and I know girls, you've probably already planned your wedding. Guys, I know you've already planned your wedding. No, I know guys haven't. These guys are wearing like masks. They're getting ready to rob me. But listen to this. Ready? And I got to speed things up. But the church needs single people. The church needs single people. It's 1 Corinthians 7, 32 through 35. We can throw it up on the screen so I don't have to. I want you to be without care. He who is unmarried cares for the things of the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But he who is married cares about the things of the world, how he may please his wife. There's a difference between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman cares about the things of the Lord, that she may be both holy in body and in spirit. But she who's married cares about the things of the world, how she may please her husband. And this I say for your own profit, not that I may put a leash on you, but what is proper, and that you may serve the Lord without distraction. What is that saying? Guys, when I was single, I did so much for Jesus. Now, listen, Megan and I get to do great ministry together, and there's amazing things that have happened because we're married. But I can also say there's things I did before we were married that I can never, I won't do again, and I can't do again. And it's just because I was able to focus on nothing else at all but serving God. I was actually allowed to be like selfish for serving God. I didn't have to go, hey, babe, can I do this? Can I do that? Can I go here? Can I go there? Can I stay late? And do, like, I was just young and single and had nothing to do. So, like, I served Jesus. I served Jesus. I served Jesus. I served Jesus. This is what Paul's saying. Like, when you're single, what a beautiful gift because you have nothing at all. Now, being married, we still serve Jesus. I'm not saying she's a hindrance. Since I got married, I can't serve him. No, our ministry is just different. It's different. But
it's just that our priorities change. So it's like when you're single, it's like your priority is God. And then below that, it's your ministry and your family and your friends. And now that we're married, it's our priority as God and then each other and then our ministry. So it just means that there's something else in between that's more important. Yeah. So it takes more time.
Yeah. And whether you're married or you're single, it's for God. Your singleness is not for you. It's for God. And your marriage is not for you. It's for God. That's our prayer all the time. God, use our marriage to glorify you, to point people to you that they could see you. So here's the question everyone has. Ready? Sean, when is it okay to date? You guys ready? So if you take the square root of 100, multiply it by 7, then the quadrat. No, listen, ready? What did we say the definition of dating is? It's getting to know someone more intentionally to see if marriage is a possibility. So when are you old enough to date? Truly, this is my opinion now. This isn't the Bible. This is our opinion. You're old enough to date when marriage is a possibility. And now some of you are like, oh, that's horrible, Sean. How dare you? And here's what I know. You guys are going to disagree with us on that, and that's fine. And we want to be totally like transparent. Like even if you don't agree with us and you decide to date now, date in high school, like we still want to be in you. We're not going to rebuke you. Hey, we said you should wait. How dare you? No, we want to be there for you. We're not going to rebuke you and be like, you're awful, you sinner. How dare you? Like, hey, that's cool. This is our opinion. But I truly believe when marriage is a possibility, and here's a more important one too, and with your and their parents' permission. If your parents say you can, like, and their parents say, but don't be doing that behind your parents' back either. But I tell people this all the time. Middle school relationships are like out of shape people. They don't work out. They just don't. They just don't. Some of y'all are like, how dare you say that? But here was our experience in high school or middle school. Like, your parents had some rules, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, ask your parents what their rules are, because every parent is different and every parent views the definition of dating different. This is our definition, but your parent might have a different definition. And so his parents didn't really have a whole lot of rules, right? Mm-mm. And my parents had a rule of, like, I wasn't allowed to date till I was 16. I also had to be responsible, so I had to prove that I could check in with them when I was out with my friends. I could tell them where I was. One of the other rules was that I had a job, so I could, like, pay for things. The other rule was that the other person had a job, so they could pay for things. Like, they wanted us to be more mature adults before we started dating.
If your parents have to pay for it, don't date.
It's not a
date. That's
date.
Weird. Hey, babe, you want to hop on my handlebars and my mom's buying us dinner? Like, that's just weird. Straight up, right?
I mean,
it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. Girls, that's called dating a little boy. You don't want to do that, all right? You want to find a man one day. Not now. Y'all are too young to find a man.
But also, I want to clarify that when we say, like, dating is for when marriage is a possibility, it does not mean that the first person you date is the person you're going to marry.
Yeah.
Like, it's not saying, like, you have to know that you're going to marry that person before you start dating them.
Yeah, and before we go any further, y'all are like, you guys are saying this, and I just want you to know what eye candy we were in middle school. So I have a picture of me here.
Oh, goodness.
So, like, I could
we
have
were really dateable.
I could have had any girl I wanted. Straight up.
With those ears.
Now, listen. Shh. You guys are laughing, but think about this. I clearly was a model for the Gap. Look at those teeth. Yeah, right? Listen, guys, when you're singing that song, No Longer Slaves, you're like, you're split the sea so I could. You could say split my teeth so you could walk right through them. It's pretty bad. But, hey, listen. Megan was pretty
no,
a catch too in middle school.
Not true. Here we go.
I think we have a picture of Megan there. Like.
Yep. I think there's two.
That's my wife, bro. You want to take this outside?
Listen, I agree at that moment.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I
look like I'm like, we were trying to figure out what the heck was happening there.
Next picture. There you go. Like.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all are like, look at those biceps, right? Those six-pack. And then we got one more Megan. One more Megan for you guys to laugh at.
Oh, goodness. It's just all.
Guys,
so many
she
awkward
looks like
things.
an 11-year-old and a 60-year-old woman at the same time here, right? It's pretty bad. All right, so.
Oh, goodness.
What to look for? What to look for before we get into our dating process?
Let's try to. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. So
Okay.
what to look for? You really want to find first and foremost another Christian. I mean, straight up, the Bible says that. Don't be unequally yoked. But with that being said, like, yes, you should be attracted to the person that you want to marry one day. You should like things about them. So I'm not going to sit here and say, here's exactly what to look for. And I don't think you should have like a full checklist. Like, he has brown hair, blue eyes, size 11 and a half sneaker. Like, you don't need to have a detailed, but you want them to love Jesus. You want them to be attractive to you. And you want to like them as a person. Like, you want to have someone you can have fun with, that you can do life with, that you can be challenged by, and challenged.
We have a ton of fun, but I will say one of the things that stood out to me about Sean is that in every conversation we had, I felt like he always showed me more of who Jesus was that I didn't already have, and like pushed me towards Jesus. Even when I was asking him for advice or we were talking through situations, he would always point me to Jesus. And that is something that I was like, I need, girls, like we need to not be the leader, the spiritual leader in the household. Like, that's his job. Like, he needs to be the leader and the one pointing you to Jesus. You shouldn't be the one like dragging them, being like, come on, be a Christian with me. That never works out.
It doesn't. So now here's the deal. During the dating process, how do you actually date someone? And we're gonna get somewhat deep here, but we gotta go fast. We're running out of time. So one of the biggest things is setting up boundaries. And I know that's not the most fun thing in the world, because part of the excitement of dating someone is like holding hands and, you know, we get to kiss now and hug and do all. But listen. See, this is why I told y'all you gotta be mature. I'm gonna have you guys take your masks off for me. Take your masks off for me. Yeah. Thank you guys, because you need to hear this. So listen. We can't tell you what your boundaries are, but you guys got to have that conversation. I don't care if you're 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 30, 40, and you're dating someone. Hey, what are our boundaries? Are we ever going to be alone in a house together? Are we ever going to be together after this time? Like, what are those things? And it's not just we just know. He just knows what my boundaries are. He respects me. Like, that's a lie from the pit of hell. It's not just you have to. It's uncomfortable. It's awkward.
Yeah.
I had to be like, whoa, stay away from me. I know I'm so attractive. And she was like, oh, I can't. But we had to, because here's what I know. If it makes you feel guilty in any way, because people ask that question, right? What's the famous question? How
far is too far?
How far is too far? If it makes you feel guilty in any way, now this isn't the end-all be-all, because you could sin and not feel guilty about it. I understand that. Eventually you should, but at some point you might not. But if it makes you feel guilt, don't do it. Don't do it. If you feel like you have to hide it, don't do it. Yeah. But here's what I know. Like, you don't accidentally, it's the weirdest thing, but when we got married and that night or the next morning, like, we had a conversation where, like, when our students tell us they just messed up and they don't know how it happened, like, that's not possible. You don't accidentally mess up.
That's how you know we're youth leaders, because the night after, or the day after our wedding, that's what we're talking about.
We're having a conversation about students. There's this episode of Boy Meets World where Corey kisses another girl that's not his girlfriend. And he's like, hey, I accidentally kissed Missy Robinson. And Topanga's like, how did you accidentally kiss her? You slipped and her lips broke your fall? Like... It's
not possible.
You've got to have that boundaries conversation. Yeah. And Matthew 5:28 says, hey, if you even look at a woman lustfully, you've already committed adultery. And here's what I know to be true. You want to share this? Sorry, my bad. If that person doesn't marry you, they're going to be married to someone else. And can I tell you, if when we were dating and then ultimately getting married and stuff, if she shared about some guy that messed with her in the past or did something wrong, I'd want to kill that guy. Like, straight up, because she wasn't going to be his wife. She's my wife. So, guys, when you look at the girls around the room and in the future and in your school and stuff, just know if you don't marry her, chances are someone else is going to. And I wouldn't treat a girl a way you don't want your future wife to be treated. Girls, same way, vice versa. 1 Timothy 5:2 actually tells us to treat young women as sisters. So I would even say, especially at your age, don't do anything you wouldn't do to your sister. I'm just saying. So I think we should skip ahead a little, right? We go, couple important things we want to throw in there, and we're going to get to questions. Sorry, we get passionate about this. So have accountability in your life.
Yeah.
Like
have mentors, have people that you feel comfortable talking to about this stuff. I get that that's not always your parents, and that's okay. And if it is, you are very blessed to have parents that you feel comfortable talking to about this. But it needs to be an adult, not a friend, not a peer, because your peers and your friends, you guys are all trying to figure this out together at the same time. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to talk about it. You're going to, encourage each other. But ultimately, the person that you need to go to advice for and to, help you walk this well is your youth pastors, your youth leaders, people that are there and they're for you because they see you and they want you to know that God loves you so much, and they want you to know that God has a plan for your life, and the plan is good. Those are the people that you need to be going to for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the one other thing I would say is bring marriage principles even into dating. And by that, I don't mean the things you do when you're married, but if the end goal of dating is marriage, don't just treat it as this fun fling you get to have. Start communicating with that person, having those hard conversations, seeing if there is compatibility, seeing if they do bring you closer to Jesus. It's so important. And in the end of all of this, 1 Corinthians 7, verses 3 and 5, I'm just going to paraphrase. We can put it up on the screen, but it basically says, your body isn't even yours. In the end, my body belongs to her, and hers belongs to me. And we got to be accountable for that one day. So whatever you do with someone before that, before marriage, before putting a ring on it, you're going to be held accountable for that one day. Not just to God, but even to the future spouse. So that's something I want to remind you guys of. And just want to close with this. It's crazy how God works, because I wasn't on the lookout for a relationship. Megan wasn't on the lookout for a relationship. But somehow the crazy youth pastor in South Florida who had never had a girlfriend runs into a girl who was a dancer in California, who moved to Colorado, got sick, had her joy of dancing taken away. Doctors told her, you can't dance anymore. Your body can't handle it. Started leading worship. Her worship leader, when she was a student, went to a school called OE, told her she should go to OE. So she flew to Florida to never move back home. And somehow we met in all that. And it's wow, God, you really do work in incredible, amazing ways. And here's what I would say, guys. It's so worth it. It is so worth the wait when you know God's in it, when his hand is on your lives, when his hand is on your relationship. It is so amazing. We're each other's first I love yous. We're each other's first kiss. And I know some of that can be and even if you have done that before, I love you is so powerful. You had a conversation one time with a student about what I love you means. And they said pizza.
Oh, yes.
Right?
It's like saying you love pizza is not saying I love Sean. I love pizza and I love Sean. That word love holds two very different weights. And so it's being careful, who you use that with and what you mean by it.
Because it means a lot. And what we wanted when we were your age, and I would say this, so it's not when I was your age, what I wanted in high school and even what I wanted in college is completely different than what I ended up with and who I ended up with. There was these things I thought I wanted, but God knew what I needed. And those two things were somewhat different, but now I can say I got what I wanted and what I needed in my spouse, and it was worth it. So we've got to think bigger than now. We've got to think in the grand scheme of life, what the decisions we make now truly, truly will echo for the rest of our lives. So I'd even challenge you guys, start praying. Start praying for your future. Start praying for your future spouse. Start praying, asking God, what is it that you have in store for me? And just remember this, the end goal of Christianity, it's not marriage. It's not. But the end goal of Christianity is marriage. Huh? It's a heavenly marriage to Christ. You know, we sit and we think about this forever, but there's not even marriage in heaven. That's what's crazy to me. We spend our whole lives worried about this until the day we finally get married, but there's not even marriage in eternity. But what is in eternity is the wedding feast of the Lamb, where the bride, the church, is reunited with the groom, Jesus, and we spend eternity with him. And we have to give an account for how we lived and what we did and what even our relationships looked like. So just remember that thought. The end goal of Christianity is marriage, heavenly marriage to Christ, not your marriage here on earth. So, amen? You guys want us to answer a couple questions? Couple questions. Let's see what we got
and
here.
we can go ahead and take the verse off the screen.
When they say they love you, is it real? Here's what I'm going to say about that. Boys are sick.
What does it say?
I used to be one. No, I'm a man now.
We don't have to answer questions.
We got like 2 minutes for questions. So what I would say is people use I love you very manipulatively these days. So I would just be careful. I can't tell you if a person, when they say it to you, means it, but I can tell you they're very, very manipulative in those things. Someone's just asking, when you say till death do you part, are Christians against it? Because in heaven, everyone who... Actually, no, because when you do say till death do you part, that is when the marriage ends, biblically, because there's not marriage in heaven. So really, you're married until God calls the other person home, and then you have completed that contract that you signed, even biblically. So that's very Christian, actually. Yeah. Any other good questions? There wasn't a lot of questions.
No, there wasn't.
Is young marriage a sin? I hope not, because I was 26 and she was 22. So I hope not. It's not. It's not.
And again, a lot of this comes down to, honoring your parents and honoring the Lord. Honoring your parents comes with promises and with gifts from the Lord. So go in your Bible one time and look at that verse that says, honor your mother and father. There is a second half to that sentence that is very important and that a lot of people don't talk about. And it's if you honor your mother and father, you are promised long favored life from the Lord. That's a big deal. Mm-hmm. So it's not just obeying your parents to clean your room right now. It's in a lot of things that are very important, and the Lord's going to bless you for that. So
amen.
Yeah.
So hey guys, we're going to pray. Worship team, you guys can come up. And I just want to say this, as we worship today, I know it can be weird. You just heard from us about dating and marriage. Now we're going to sing. But marriage is such a beautiful picture, and we shared this a while ago in Mark, of the gospel, of Christ literally dying for the church, who he considers his bride. And one day we're going to get to see him face to face. And he gives us these beautiful seasons of life, of singleness, of marriage, all these things. To everything there's a season, the Bible tells us. And in those, he does an amazing, incredible work. And I just want to challenge you guys, learn to be content where you are now. And if you can learn to be content in the season you're in, you'll learn to be content in any of those seasons. And in God's beautiful and perfect timing, he'll bring you to those places you're supposed to be. He'll bring that person into your life that needs to be there. He'll do the work. If you focus on him and serve him with all you got, he's going to provide for you so much greater than you could ever hope, dream, or imagine. Amen?